Hello, welcome to the Elevating Property Management Podcast. I'm Colin Douthit here with Atlas Property Management, and with me today I have Anthony Scandariato out of New Jersey. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Colin, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so here at Elevating Property Management Podcast, we are talking about how we can make this industry better, how we can serve our customers and clients better. And you are a great fit for this because of your background as both a syndicator and a property manager. So why don't you go ahead and get started by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah, I could do that. I run a company called Rhino Properties, and we are a multifamily sponsor slash syndicator, as Colin mentioned. But we also do our own property management, so that'll be the focus of this conversation. As Colin mentioned, my company is based out of New Jersey, and to put it in perspective, it's 45 minutes west of Midtown Manhattan. And we have about 340 apartment and mixed use units. So by mixed use, I mean ground floor retail, apartments above, in mostly suburban infill areas. Typically it's Class B minus, C plus, garden style, kind of 2 to 3 story walk-up buildings. Need a lot of attention and had a lot of deferred maintenance, and we go in there and clean it up. And I think what's interesting about us is, as we mentioned, we do our own property management. And when you're trying to execute on value add business plans when it comes to real estate projects, it's really key to have your property management really tight, because that could really make or break your deal if it's not managed correctly. So that's a main reason why we property manage ourselves. Obviously there's many reasons why we do it as well, but we can get into that if you want.
Yeah, no, let's just kind of start digging into it. So I know you've got some experience before Red Knight. So how long have you guys been, working at Red Knight and kind of doing the whole vertical integration?
Yeah, it's actually only been since full-time, it's been January of this year, 2020, okay. But we've been buying kind of slowly since September of 2000. So it's been about 2018. So it's been about 2 years, I would say.
Okay, great. And you guys are up to 340 doors. And then what does your property management staff look like? What are you guys working with internally?
Sure. Yeah. So it's actually pretty small. But the way that we manage, most of our properties are at least 50 units and up. So we're able to have an on-site superintendent, what we like to call it. And then we have like we usually partner with the local real estate brokerage, so we kind of have like a roving leasing agent per each area. In northern New Jersey, for example, where we own, think about, 200 of those 340, we have one real estate brokerage that does all of our leasing for us. Okay. And then we have most of the properties in the same general area within 10 minutes of each other. So we have one kind of roving superintendent, maintenance man that takes care of all of that. In addition to the out-of-state properties, it's very similar. But in terms of my staff, I have a property management assistant, which kind of, for those of you who are listening, there's a lot of different property management software out there, and we use Buildium, which is kind of like the middle ground between costs and efficiency. So Buildium is, it's a pretty robust platform. And also, we wanted to find one that has decent accounting features, because that was important as well. So we chose Buildium. So she kind of oversees move-ins, move-outs, new leases, renewals, collections. So we have that on our staff as basically, independent contractor, but she works every single day. And then we have a CPA as well.
Okay. All right. Does all the back office stuff for you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So you have an interesting model, being a little bit more decentralized, I guess, with your leasing agents just being all commission based and you guys having a spread out footprint.
Yep.
A lot of PM companies, I think, like I run, we are within a market and all of our staff is within that market. So you guys have been doing the property management for a while. Have you guys turned it into a profit center internally, or is it more just an overhead?
Yeah, it's definitely a profit center, but it wasn't initially. You have to really, as you mentioned, you have to really scale up, and the cash flow has to be coming in. Between the 340 units, we have 12 or 13 properties at this point. Okay. So when you have that many properties, you're able to kind of allocate costs and, split different staff amongst all, 13 properties, for example. A lot of real estate companies do that.
Yeah.
So as long as you're large enough, I would say, definitely, or going to be large. If you're just going to do a couple deals, then don't even bother.
Yeah.
Starting your own property management company. But if you're planning to be in this for the long term, I would, definitely recommend it. And, even starting out, I didn't make my first hire, which is my assistant, until we got to this point.
Okay.
So we've been doing everything ourselves up until, the 340 units. Just to put it in perspective, we have New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Florida. So
Okay.
between the 4 states, let's say our average price per door is 150. So the AUM is like 35, 40 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are able to afford having at least somewhat of a staff at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you guys ever entertain the idea of going with third-party management in the different markets?
Yes, we did. We kind of figured we have our own CPA, we have our assistant, we have our infrastructure in terms of how we've been able to operate so far. Let's see if we can apply it to other states where we're not necessarily an hour drive from the property.
Yeah.
So far it's been working, and we've been able to apply the same model, but it really comes down to experience and, being able to trust your on-site staff and management
Mm-hmm.
and leasing team. We usually do it through referrals.
Okay.
So, if someone gives us a bad referral, then that's a problem. But usually they don't. We've been pretty lucky with at least our staff picks.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's great. I imagine the remote leasing, even just the leasing game with regulations. I mean, we're here in Kansas City. I know what kind of regulations we have to deal with. Typically the coast tend to have more stringent requirements on leasing. Have you guys found any hurdles or obstacles with the leasing out there?
No, not really. I mean, obviously you have to really know your landlord-tenant laws. Having that in our back pocket. There's a great website. I'm sure you've heard of Landlordology. That
Mhm.
we have like a bookmark to it on our building platform for all the different states we're in, for all the rules. Security deposits, every state is different as well in terms of how much you could charge, and late fees, and when can you post the pay or quit letter. So
Mhm.
we have all those steps kind of outlined on building for each property.
Very nice.
So our staff knows exactly what to do. And a lot of it's automated too. So
Mhm.
obviously through our property management software, after the 8th, let's just say there's a 10% late fee.
Yep.
And then, during normal times, which hopefully we're about to be in normal times soon,
Hopefully.
eviction would start within 10 to 15 days after they don't pay.
Mhm.
So, and that process starts automatically. We have attorneys for each state. I guess it's just more of a learning curve. It's not really a challenge now.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. What's been some of the best, value add for having the property management, in-house that you've had for your properties? I think we're managing some properties in that same, low B, high C class. So what are some of the best values that you've had with the property management?
The best values we've had was the ability to get creative, because we are doing these, I would say medium, but they're mostly tenant turnover value add
Okay.
deals. So for example, there's tenants that have been at some of my properties for years and years and years, and they've
Mm-hmm.
been paying, let's say a one bedroom in my market, let's say it's $1,250, $1,300.
Mm-hmm.
They've been paying $800 for years, 15 years. So when they see those types of rent increases, obviously it comes with renovations, etc. We're not just doing it just to raise it. It's a tough conversation to have, and not every third-party manager is going to want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've had experience with a little bit of dabbling with third-party management, and they kind of drop the ball because they don't want to have those conversations, or they don't want to get creative in terms of trying to get, you have a business plan, and at least in my mind, you have to try to stick with it. So it's, for us to be the managers as well as the operators, made a lot of sense.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, like cash for keys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of third-party managers, some of them I interviewed, they don't even know what that is. So
That's hard to believe.
hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's so common, especially coming out of the COVID. I mean, I did cash for keys probably on just a few tenants, and otherwise I would have had to wait until the moratorium's lifted at
Yeah.
the end of the year. Just being creative, and like I said, as long as you have a staff that you trust, you kind of build that relationship over time, and you learn too. And that's another reason why we wanted to self-manage, because we started out self-managing.
Yeah.
And I worked for somebody else. We did property management as well. So that during that process along the way, we get to learn so much. So when we're ready, let's say we get to 15,000 units and we say, okay, we really don't want to manage anymore. So we're done. We kind of, the portfolio's done. We'll be able to pass it off to somebody else.
Yeah. Gotcha. So with those reposition properties, we've done a lot of those, right? And that comes with a lot of tough conversations with the owners and with the tenants, especially those longtime tenants. I think our record right now, we took over something earlier this year and somebody had been in there since 1987. Last time they saw a rent raise was in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a hard conversation to have. It's actually a little bit easier than you think, but a lot of managers, didn't approach it the right way. They'll just send a letter out, and they'll see this huge increase and they'll just call and scream, and they'll do that anyway. They're going to complain anyway. But if you actually call them before you send the letter and actually just talk, hey, I'm sending you this, and here's why we're doing this, and here's what we'd like to offer you, I would say it's a little bit easier, even though they're still going to get mad at you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you are, managing these properties and doing the value adds or the repositions, whether it's rehab or just getting up to market rent, what are some of the tips or tricks or some of the strategies that you use to bring the most value out of the property from the management side?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned one, cash free keys is a good one. And again, most of these are unit turn value adds, so it's more of negotiating properly with the tenants and trying to minimize your turnover, trying to minimize your vacancy. For example, let's say that is, an example that you gave with one of your tenants, it rents so far below market, and if they can't afford it, or they, even with the renovations, we try to work with them. So we say, okay, well, maybe we'll keep you on a 3-month lease at the same rent. And obviously you need to find another spot while, these 3 months are in place, and then we'll kind of reevaluate within 2 months.
Yeah.
So we get creative there. There's some other solutions where we partner with a bond issuer for security deposits.
Which company?
Rhino.
We use Rhino too.
So perfect. So for your audience who doesn't know, Rhino is a security deposit. So in lieu of a security deposit, the tenant posts a bond, and the bond typically for every $1,000 of coverage is $5 a month extra, typically, depending upon credit and other factors. But so we partner with them. So sometimes we'll take over a building. We'll see they got a nice security deposit, but they're complaining about the rent increase. If it's that substantial, we'll say, okay, we're going to give you a month of free rent, and we're going to use your security deposit. You don't have to pay it back, but you need to sign up for this Rhino system. It's probably going to be another $10, $15 a month, but you're going to have a free month, and I hope you appreciate that. And they're like, wow, this is awesome. Really? Okay, great. So we've done, like creative solutions like that. So there's a lot of different ways to get to your business plan.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love using the security deposit and switching over to Rhino. We did that, for, they don't allow you to switch mid-lease typically on Rhino. They prefer you to be a month-to-month tenant or a tenant that's, lease is coming up for renewal. But we did that during, COVID, when it was going pretty hot and heavy, when the world, shut down April, May, whenever that was. We were, taking our month-to-month tenants or tenants that were coming up for renewal and saying, hey, you're having trouble paying your rent. Let's use your security deposit and then get you signed up for Rhino. And that was really a creative way to help, bridge a gap for a month. Plus, then on the backside, it's nice having that additional coverage, right? So you can set the multiplier on Rhino. So we typically set it at 3 times. We have much lower rents out here in the Midwest than on the coast do. So for your 1 bedroom, might be $1,200, like you were saying. Our 1 bedrooms might be $600, $700. So we set that multiplier higher so that we have more coverage for the owners, in case of damage or just for the lost rent. So it's been, and the owners really love it, which is great.
Yes. And typically Rhino, they started I'm not sure if it's still the case, but as we were talking about landlord laws, they don't allow you to post higher than the state limit. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's still in place anymore.
I think it's
Um,
very state to state.
it's still state to state, yeah.
Mhm.
So what we were doing before COVID happened, we have some tenants in there, like you said, 3x, 4x coverage.
Mhm.
They still, if the tenant defaulted, they did still pay out. But I
Yeah.
think moving forward, you have to cap it at the state maximum.
Yeah.
So
What's the state maximum in New Jersey?
New Jersey's a month and a half.
Month and a half. Okay.
Yeah, so like New York's a month. I think Pennsylvania's 2 months.
Mhm.
Florida's whatever. So every state
Go
is
crazy.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, every state is different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Rhino's been a huge opportunity for a lot of landlords if they get into it. We sell it as insurance. Yes, technically it's a bond. I know there's a couple other companies on the market that are doing a similar product, but it's really worth it. So
Sure. And the great thing about that is we were able to scale with Rhino because they don't, some of those larger bond issuers for
Mhm.
the security deposits, they have to have like a 500 unit minimum in
Mhm.
order for it to be worth it. Rhino, you just need one door.
Yeah.
So they can grow with you. So it's a great product and we still use it. So
Yeah. And the best part about it is that it's tenant paid. You get more coverage and the tenant's paying for it.
exactly.
It's really, really a win for the owners and the property managers at that point.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the tenants too. Yep.
Yeah, because they don't have to come up with that big chunk of change out of pocket.
Right.
You can either help them out if they're on renewal or, when they're moving in, they're like, wow, I don't have to apply the security deposit because, they're still waiting 30 days to get their previous security deposit from their previous rental if they get it, or they have to save up the money for it. So,
Yep. And they
that's,
appreciate that. And it's very not commonplace, I'd say, in
Mhm.
where I own my properties. Most people don't know what it is. So
Yeah,
when the
likewise.
tenants hear about it, I mean, and truly we are helping the tenants out as
Mhm.
well. They love that. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pay a little bit more in rent, but I'm getting basically a free month here. So I
Yeah.
can't find that anywhere else in this area. So
Yeah, we've actually kind of used it as a selling point. Say, hey, you don't have to bring a security deposit. So maybe our rent's 25 or $50 more than the comps would be for it, but you don't have to bring a security deposit. So maybe you can kind of
right.
win twice with that as well.
And we do that too. So, for example, in markets like New Jersey and New York, this may change, Pennsylvania too, but the tenant usually pays the brokerage fee. So it's anywhere from, let's say, a half a month to a month. Yeah. So
For
they
the
usually
leasing
pay
agent.
that
Okay.
to the realtor if you partner with the realtor.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of knew going in that would be probably a challenge with the apartment complexes because a lot of the other ones don't do that. But the way we were managing it, um, as you said, it's kind of for me to hire like a leasing person and a maintenance guy for 50 unit building might be a little bit tough. I can have the maintenance guy,
Mm-hmm.
but the leasing person not on my payroll. So basically what we're doing is tenants paying the commission,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no security deposit.
Okay.
So actually the moving cost is still cheaper because the security in New Jersey is a month and a half. We're only asking for a month plus the month's rent to move in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the same thing the way they look at it. Some of them think it's a little bit cheaper, which is great, which, it is to move in. But again, you don't get that money back for the commission. So
With
that's just the
the
way we do it. It's more supply demand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With the tenants paying the brokerage fees, do you tend to see your tenants staying longer because they don't want to have to incur that cost again in 12 months or 24 months?
Yeah, we do see that, which is nice.
Yeah.
But again, the way that we're marketing it is a little bit, it's almost like a standard apartment almost, the moving costs. But
Yeah.
again, for me, from an ownership standpoint on my expenses, I don't have the burden of a leasing agent,
No, that's great.
just a super.
That's great.
So
No, yeah, we have a leasing agent that works for us, but she's commission based, right? So she gets a portion of the leasing fee that we collect. So,
sure.
which is great to not have that as a technical overhead. So it's really performance based for them. So similar,
Sure.
but yeah, I guess we're paying them out of it, or the owner, I guess, would technically be the one paying it. So if you were to use a third-party manager, right? This is a question for us on how we can improve property management. We've discussed, Rhino can be a way to protect everybody some more. Executing the owner's plan. What's a way a third-party management can bring the most value to a syndicator or an owner such as yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the most value would be to have a staff basically in place
Mm-hmm.
because, finding the best vendors could be a challenge, especially if you're in a new market or you're you're investing out of state. It's to have that kind of vendor list. So we always have, on building, there's a vendor section, and we go per property, and here's the vendor list. So here's, if our super can't handle this major electrical problem, he's got to call an electrician. And here's our list of 2 to 3 electricians he can call. The most value they can offer is just to have those, to have that infrastructure already built out for when we do hire the third party. They know exactly who to call for anything. Thing as well, if you do third party management, you're going to get a lot less phone calls, obviously. So, make sure, figure out if they have a 24/7 answering service, or just figure out what kind of communication system they have. For us, we have, like I said, I have an assistant now, so she takes the phone calls. So it's a little bit easier. Otherwise, we were doing it before. Yeah. So, but again, they can message us on Buildium. They can send us an email. They usually, if it's a maintenance request, send a maintenance request. So we're trying to be more, I want to say, systematized, because, especially, when you're buying C to B buildings, the tenants will just call, oh, my sink is leaking. Well, you need to submit a maintenance request. I don't know how to use the computer. Well, sorry, figure it out. Like that's the attitude that we are moving forward with. They need to figure out how to submit requests and things, unless it's, an emergency, like a flood in the basement that we have to address. But if it's like small shit, they really have to figure out how to use the portal.
Yeah, absolutely. So we currently use Buildium right now as well. And yeah, that's one thing is, our PMs, if they call our PMs, we've got a maintenance coordinator. If they do get a hold of our PMs, we're like, submit it through the portal, do it online. You're going to get a faster response because our maintenance coordinators are on the phone all the time, coordinating our crews. So we don't always have time for them to make the callback, but tasks get assigned a lot quicker when they come in through the portal, and we can track them a lot better that way as well. So yeah, that's huge. Are you entertaining the idea of third party as you guys grow and expand outside of these markets that you're in? Or are you guys going to continue to integrate it internally?
I think because we did make the staffing move, it probably would be to grow internally as much as we can. Yeah. But you're just going to get to a certain point where you might not, you really might not want to do it, or really, because it's, you get to a point where you're working on the business or in the business. So the property management is more in the business, and that's how we've been. So in order to really grow, instead of overseeing your property management staff, which is basically what we're doing, it's a lot of work. It's still a lot of time. It's definitely a lot less than taking the calls, but still, you might want to consider it. Again, it really also what are your priorities too, and your experience level. So especially for a newer emerging, landlord or operator, or even syndicator, where they are, let's say they are based in New York, but there's no opportunities they're seeing, and they want to buy in Florida, North Carolina, etc. You might want to you definitely want to partner with a third party property manager, especially if it's your first deal. I mean, come on. So
that helps. Similar to you guys, I started buying real estate before I was an investor. So I was self-managing all of my own properties. We got up to about 60 before we kind of really started scaling and opening it up to becoming a third-party property management company. Once I started looking at bringing on some staff, and so now we third-party full-time, and, managing my own portfolio as a minority of the work at this point that they're doing. Right. Have you ever thought about standing up your own property management company and third partying for other people?
Yeah, I mean, we have the capability to, as long as we're in the same or similar market already, in my opinion. I think, we need a little bit more out-of-state experience in order for us to actually manage other people's properties. And, somebody came to me and said, I have this property in Atlanta, I'd like for you to manage it because I have a relationship with them. I'm going to say no, because I don't know anything about it. And I would say potentially I would entertain it. Like I mentioned, we bought something in Florida recently, and that's going very well, but I want to see it go. I want to, have a couple more months, because it's a brand new deal, a couple more months to feel comfortable with, okay, this is the first real out of state one. Yeah. Okay. Can I do this in another state? If everything is moving smoothly there. So it's more of a case study for me first.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. If somebody came to you in your home market in New Jersey and said, hey, will you manage this? Is that something you'd do?
Yeah. And I've had those opportunities too, but sometimes it's a lot of 5 units, 6 units. I said, listen, it's not, you got to do it yourself. because, in order for any third-party management company for it to make sense, I mean, they're going to charge 10% at a minimum, at least on those smaller
Mm-hmm.
5 units, so even up to 10 units. It's not going to,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's going to want to do it for peanuts. So that's part of the challenge. But yeah, as long as it's large enough, then definitely.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's good to know. So for anybody else that's property managing out there, do you have any nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Just keep getting educated. Yeah, education is key. I mean, there's so many resources. Bigger Pockets is a really good one. I think they have like a book on property management.
Mm-hmm.
But and obviously networking too with other, property managers, people in the industry. There's a lot of different ways, but I would say that the key is to get educated, and just take action too at some
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yeah.
So
Just do it. Yeah, understood. Well, Anthony, I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, find out about investing in the markets that you're in, how do they do that?
yeah, it can actually, you can actually, I just launched a special report. It's called like How to Leave Your 9 to 5 Through Financial Independence. You can get that for free on our website, redknightproperties.com. You just put in your name and email, I'll send it right to you. And then in that email, there'll be my contact information as well. So feel free to opt into that, and I'll definitely reach out to you. And I'm on every social media platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So under Red Knight Properties, or just my name, Anthony Scandariato.
Okay, great. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck continuing to grow.
Great. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate it.
Yep, take it easy.